Absolutely stunning. The hope here is that this is a near-term phenomenon. The U.S. economy is in fundamentally very strong shape, and it was prior to the virus. You're looking at historically low interest rates. You're looking at very, very low energy prices. So when this ends, hopefully a lot of these people will be employed again. Interestingly enough, we mentioned the stock market in the previous segment. It looks like a bottom is being built into the stock market because the market isn't selling on bad news. It looks like there is some clarity coming to the virus, and it may be, at least in the U.S., be able to go back to work in the next 30 to 60 days. And that's giving the market clarity and a little bit of certainty. So the markets aren't selling on bad news in a big way, and it's certainly helped by, it looks like, Mr. Trump's efforts with regard to the oil fracas between the Saudis and the Russians.
That is interesting. John, just on the sheer volume of people who are contracting this virus and the death toll continuing to spike to new levels in the US, past 200,000 people who got it. That was yesterday. It's risen since then. What do you make of the figures, particularly in New York, which is the American epicenter at the moment?
Well, first of all, I serve on the board of disclaimer of Stanford University on the board of overseers there, and I have one of the world's leading epidemiology departments. I'm on the phone with them all the time. So basically, the number of infections is just a function of tests. Keep in mind the number of tests is the real limiting factor here. So the case number goes up when more people are tested. The real question is how many people actually have it, and that is the denominator in the fatality number, deaths over number of people have it. It looks like this disease is far more widespread than people thought, which brings down the fatality number. So it means it may be a little less lethal than we all thought because it's been so widely spread. Now, the other bit of good silver lining here is that the more people that have it, once they've had it, they develop antibodies and become immune, maybe permanently, certainly for a period of time. And once you create a critical mass in a population, you achieve what's called herd immunity, when people really can't, when the virus is unable to spread because there are so many people that are immune to it and don't become carriers. So the real question here isn't the number of cases. That's just a function of testing. It's how many people really have it. And to do that, we need to stop just testing people that are sick and on the front lines. We need to test them also. What we really need is a randomized sample throughout the populations to give us a true picture of what the infection rate really is.
But these figures that are being claimed by the White House, I mean, Dr. Fauci mentioned that there could be, in excess of 100 to 200,000 deaths in the United States alone, which is frightening.
Yes, Dr. Fauci said that. He also said that was the high-end number, and that there was optimistic that it wouldn't even get to that number. And then Dr. Birx kind of much said the same thing. The politicians and policymakers, what they want to do is prepare the public. And so they tend to come in with the worst case number. And keep in mind, a few weeks ago, the worst case number was 2.2 million. Now the worst case number is 200,000. Now that's 200,000 too many, and I'm not minimizing that in any way. But it does look like the numbers are being revised downward and downward sharply. Right now, we're at only about 5,000 deaths in the United States. So if we can continue, so that's a long way to 200,000. So hopefully these quarantine measures will be effective, and we'll get lucky and find out that this disease is a lot less lethal than we thought once we get some really good data.
But you would have noticed in the last couple of days that the president's language has become a little bit more serious.
Well, keep in mind that, people want to read into the president's tone. Nobody's going to say that President Trump, is a great orator or that he's a Winston Churchill. He's not. What he is he's a manager. And this is a crisis that is unprecedented in world history. It's thrust upon him. He's getting differing opinions from different agencies of the federal government initially, being lied to by the Chinese. The public isn't prepared for this. This is a lot to deal with. And on top of that, he has to deal with the economic fallout of the price war between the Russians and the Saudis. So that's a lot to take in, and it takes a lot to. There's a lot for the challenges for the president, because the American healthcare network is America is structured differently. There's the federal government, there's the state governments, there's local city and county governments, there's private hospitals, there's public hospitals. So it's a complex web that he has to navigate, and it looks like everything's moving in the more or less in the right direction organizationally. And President Trump's approval numbers in the United States are way up since the outbreak happened. RealClearPolitics.com, which takes an average of surveys, has shown that President Trump's approval numbers have been climbing through impeachment and have really gone up during the most recent crisis. And Americans, more than 50%, approve of his handling during this crisis. And I think Americans are seeing a different side of Donald Trump. Now they're not seeing just tweets and clips that are edited by hostile news media. He's delivering in real time, unfiltered news conferences and discussing the crisis and the measures that the government is taking. And the American public is responding well to it. And that's not a matter of opinion, that's quantitative fact.